Where would we be without the various products delivered by the men and women in the trucking industry? Healthy Conversations in Trucking podcast is a platform for professional long-haul truck drivers to share their journeys over the road, educating listeners about the trucking industry and lifestyle. Now, let's dive into the conversation on this brand new episode. Well, I'm happy to introduce you all to our guest on this episode of the podcast, Vanita Johnson. Hi, Vanita. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Huntley. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm so happy to have you join us on this podcast episode. I'm so excited to meet so many women on the road. So excited to learn about you as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited as well. Very excited.
Good. I'm going to take you down memory lane a little bit. So I'll ask you some questions you probably haven't thought much about before in a while, but this will be good. We'll start with, why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself? You know, how long have you been in trucking?
Okay. Well, my name is Vanita Johnson, and I have been in trucking since 2020, but I'm going to give you a little bit of history. So when I was little, there were three dreams of mine. One was to be in law enforcement, the other was to be in education, and the other was to drive a big rig. The law enforcement, I did accomplish getting my bachelor's in criminology, and I did work with court-adjudicated juvenile delinquents. And then I'm coming from education. I came to trucking in 2020, but I left education. So I was in education for about 13 years. I had started out studying for the test to become certified, and I finally earned my master's degree for middle school mathematics, but I could not pass the exam. So I started that quest back in 2007. So when I didn't pass the exam, I said, okay, forget it. I'm just going to do education, and I'll be the bookkeeper. I'll be the attendance clerk. I'll be the administrative assistant to the principal. So I did all of those things. And then my colleagues, they were just encouraging me like, hey, you have your master's, go back and get your certification. Go back and take the test. So I did that in 2020. I passed the exam. I got a teaching position for sixth grade students, middle school math, and then COVID hit. And they said, okay, we're not doing face-to-face, we're doing virtual. And we were preparing teacher planning week, and I was so overwhelmed by all the different platforms that were available for the teachers. Brand new teacher, the seasoned teachers were overwhelmed. So you can only imagine how I felt as a first year teacher. And I was getting anxiety, and I said, you know what? I can't do this because I am somewhat of a perfectionist, and I did not want to be a disservice to my students. I did not want to fail them. So I resigned. Felt bad resigning, but I would have felt even worse just feeling like I wasn't servicing the students as they needed to be served. I had no clue what I was going to do. At the time, I had a friend who was trucking with his friend that was an owner-operator, and trucking was something that I have always been interested in. Like I said, as a little girl, my dad would take us on trips, and I would look at those big trucks, and I would say, hey, one day I'm going to drive one of those. I did an interview last week, and I told them I was going to have a trusty lapdog as my partner, but I don't have the lapdog, but I now have the truck. So just fast forwarding to there, they took me out on the road. I loved it. They gave me all the knowledge that they had in regards to being operator, and I found a trucking school that September, and I signed up. It was only a 3-week crash course. All they prepare you for is to pass the exam. Yeah, so it was like in 3 weeks I had to learn how to operate this big machinery and pass the exam. And praise God, I did it on the first try. So after that, I I passed November 5th of 2020, and forgive me, but I'm driving and I'm getting onto the interstate, so
no, that's fine.
I got to be safe.
Exactly.
Okay. So anyway, I passed and I signed up. I applied rather to one of the major trucking companies, and I went out to Chicago for their orientation in December. Bad experience. They weren't expecting me. They didn't have my shuttle at the airport to take me to the hotel. So I had to Uber it to the hotel. Got to the hotel. They didn't have me at the hotel either. So now I'm stranded in Chicago, no place to stay. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm going home and I'm going to finish my quest to become an owner operator. And so that's what I did. I went home, finished up my paperwork for my own authority, and found me a truck in January and found me a trailer in February, no, maybe March. But I hauled my first load January 30th as an owner operator, as a business owner. And at that time, I did have a partner with me who had been trucking for maybe a year or two. So he helped me and showed me the ropes, of everything that he knew.
Yeah.
So I skipped the part of a company and came on as an owner operator. And I'm a one-woman show. I'm the dispatcher. I'm the bookkeeper. I'm the administrator. I'm the driver. So it is a lot, but I'm doing it and I'm thankful. And it's only by God's grace that I am doing it.
Wow. So this is January of 2021, right?
Yes. January of 2021, I hauled my first load. Because it takes a while to get all of the paperwork in order, to find a truck. It was very hard to find a truck, by the way. At that time, every time I think I found one, I would go to the dealer and they'd say, nope, we just sold it. Nope, we just sold it. And so, yeah, the trucks were in high demand. But I got it at the right time because a year later, the same truck that I purchased for $48,000 was now going for like $90,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What a story. That's, I don't know, amazing. It maybe is a word that could describe it. Oh my goodness. That is.
And that's the short version. I tried to shorten it because I know we're on a time constraint, but I was like, I'm just going to try and put it all in a compact version. Wow.
That's amazing. So, oh my God, my head is spinning. My husband who co-hosts the show with me, Jonathan, he has a similar story. He said, he tells how when he was a little boy, he wanted to do 3 things. It's interesting how law enforcement and driving big truck go together because those were 2 of his and the other one was playing football. Okay. And he did the other 2 and then came to trucking.
Wow. Okay.
So that is really, that's really interesting. But I applaud you for all of that. You just sort of okay, I'm not going to deal with this whole employee thing. I'm not going to even deal with you guys. I'm just going to go ahead and do the owner operator.
Yeah. Big leap of faith. Mm-hmm. And I listened to another podcast and they're very insightful. He puts out there how he started his trucking business from day one till today. Mm-hmm. And a lot of companies fail within the first 12 months. For various reasons, for various reasons. And one of them is when you see, $20,000 going into your bank in 1 month. I mean, and you're not, like I said, I worked in education, so I was not making anything near that, so you tend to kind of, if you're not a good person of your finances, then you'll just think, oh, wow, I have all this money. But you really don't because it takes a lot to keep your truck going, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you haul?
I haul, I drive a 53-foot dry van. So I can haul general freight, just various things. So nothing that a reefer can haul. I take that back because reefer can haul dry loads as well that, don't require a certain temperature. But I've done everything from food to tires to appliances to, paper goods, just about anything that can go in the 53-foot dry van.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, this is so exciting to me. So when you're out and about,
Me too.
I think as a woman, I guess hearing these stories from women, I get even more excited to hear the women's perspective. And since I started this podcast, I was always intentional about having, both male and female drivers on the show and all different types of drivers and backgrounds. So the diversity and the blend, I wanted a lot of representation, but we have only had a few women on the podcast so far. So I'm kind of getting caught up with all the women telling me their stories. So all these questions I've been holding back, I'm just rolling with them now. But when you're out and about over the road, how much time do you spend over the road before you return back home?
The longest stint that I've been out here was a 3-week period. And I spent Thanksgiving out here as well because the money was good out there in California. Oregon, that's where the Christmas trees come from, is Oregon. So I was loving the Christmas tree run. And I was like, hey, I'm on a roll, so I'm not going home for Thanksgiving. So it was a big sacrifice. But that is the longest stint that I have been out there. Since the weather has been bad, I typically stay down here in the South because I'm based out of Georgia. So I travel the Carolinas and Florida. Can't wait to get back out California, but right now the rates are dropping. So, because I find my own loads. And also fuel prices are up and down and up again and back down again and up again. So it's not beneficial for me right now to run out to California, but I love going out that way. Oregon, the state of Washington, it's just a beautiful drive.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that in my conversations recently. So you have, I guess it depends on where the need is and where it's cost effective in terms of where you're traveling. So you're typically all over the country.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have not been brave enough to go to New York yet, though. Chicago, New York, New Jersey. I've been to Illinois, but not Chicago. Okay. But up there in that corner were New York, New Jersey, Maine. I have not been up there. I've been to 38 states. No, 35. I've been to 35 of the states.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite? I know you mentioned California, but I don't know if that's because of freight or because you love the state. But
it's a little bit of both. But so leaving out of Georgia, going to California, going through Texas, Arizona, New Mexico. What other states am I missing? The truckers know. Look, and I'm not that good yet because they can just rattle it off. They're like, yeah, go down the 10 and go up the 10. And I'm like, over the 10, across the 10, But I'm not that good yet. But I do know that traveling through Arizona, New Mexico, California, Oregon, those are my favorite places. Mm-hmm. Oregon, I want to say it's interstate 80 something, and I know the truckers are probably like, listen,
they're rattling it off.
yeah, but it is beautiful because you have the mountains on one side and you have a body of water on the other side. And I was like, what body of water is that? And it is a lake, or is it a river? But it's so massive that I was like, it's just huge. And when I tell you it's for hours, it's like 2 or 3 hours of that. And when I tell you it's the most beautiful, serene drive ever, I love it.
Oh, wow. I'm making building a list now of places that I want to visit just from hearing people tell me their favorite spots on the podcast.
Yes.
That sounds really nice. Do you, okay, so here's some of this is what I'm going to ask you, like, about your favorites, what you like the most and then what you like the least. So let's start with what you like the most. What do you like the most about trucking?
Okay. What I like the most about trucking is, of course, the freedom that's in it. And as one of my counterparts, Carla Holmes, she said, the sun rises and the sun sets. and you see them in so many different places, and the view, the countryside, it is just absolutely gorgeous. When you see the mountains off in a way distance, and then you start, then you finally approach the mountain. I mean, it's just beautiful. So the scenery, the landscape that God has just blessed the U.S. with is beautiful. That's one. Two, I get paid to do it. I get paid to see this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like windshield therapy. I get paid to have this windshield therapy. I spend time with God, very peaceful, while I'm driving. And I get to visit family that I haven't seen in years, For instance, there's a tot trot that my grandnephew is going to be a part of in Pittsburgh this weekend. So I'm going to find me a load, go up there, see his tot trot, so be a part of that. Mm-hmm. So I love that. There is wildlife. Oh my goodness. You see so much wildlife out here, that things that I have never seen before. So that's awesome. And then meeting new people, seeing new places and new things all the time. And I love the support that I have with Women in Trucking and Lead Her Trucking. It's like a sisterhood. When I'm out here, I have a mentor. She's been trucking since the 90s. So it's kind of like I have a new family, being that nobody in my family trucks. So I can call on these women and I just have a bond with them. And then also with the men, it's like a brotherhood out here as well. I have a brotherhood and a sisterhood with the truckers on the road. I might not have a direct contact to them, but like, for instance, I stopped on the side. No, I was at a rest area and I came out, did my pre-trip, checking my truck. And this older gentleman comes to me and he says, smart lady. And he says, you're checking your equipment. That is very important, and then he goes on to show me things under my hood and he's educating me on things that I need to know. And I just think that that's totally awesome. So it's great.
I love to hear that because that's been a recurring theme. Now I batch up my recordings of the podcast, and then they release every week. So I said this earlier today when I was recording with someone, and then Jonathan, my husband, is co-host with me, and he and I recorded an episode on this similar topic of what you just mentioned. With the more seasoned drivers, experienced drivers, it is time to start showing more respect for the industry by helping fellow drivers. You see someone that is newer, or if there's something you can show them or teach them or help them with, just lending a hand and being more helpful and supporting each other out there on the road. So, so you're the third one in this little short window of time that's kind of made that point. So that's definitely something to be cognizant of. I think it's, even in my industry, I know how important that is. I can imagine, like you just said, in the setting that you're doing what you know how to do, and then someone just comes by to just share a little extra insight with you. I think that's nice.
Yes.
That's how we win, right? It's how we look out for each other.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness, this is exciting. Hearing you say all this, I'm thinking maybe I should go see when's the next class start in my area. I want my CDL. I can guarantee you, if Jonathan's listening to this, he's like, no. No, ma'am. So let's transition a little bit, because I know that there are a lot of health challenges with trucking, being over the road. Oh no, I'm sorry. Before I go to that, I've got to ask you one more question. Tell me what you like least about trucking.
Okay. So there are several things, and I'll just try and name them quickly. The parking challenges that we run into, for the night when we're trying to shut it down for the night, it is, that's a challenge. Yeah. The time that we spend at shippers and receivers, that can be, time management is huge out here in this industry and what we do.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're spending hours and hours at a shipper and hours at a receiver, of course, that's going against our hours of service. And so that's challenging as well. Time away from home on the holidays, like I stated earlier, I sacrifice that at Thanksgiving. Sleep pattern, not normal. You know what I mean? You got to go when it's time to go and shut it down whenever you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 4-wheelers versus the 18-wheelers. So I drive a 4-wheeler and I drive an 18-wheeler. And so the cars just need to be, really wish we could have like an education on that. The safety of knowing that a truck cannot stop at the drop of a dime, you know, especially if you're heavy, especially if you're hauling liquids. I mean, it just affects everything. I saw a poster one time that showed how many football fields it takes for us to slow down, not even come to a complete stop, you know, but to slow down, all depending on how heavy we are. So just the 4-wheelers being just a little bit more mindful of the decisions that they're making, mm-hmm. you know, when they're driving around the 18-wheelers.
You said that very well, by the way. I hear that often, but it doesn't come out nearly as nicely as you just said it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just being mindful. So, but I would say that, you know, those are a few of the things that come to mind when I think of and showering.
Yeah.
Shower, when it comes to taking a shower, it's like, okay, you know, so you're just not in the comfort of your own home. So,
right.
Yeah.
I took a trip over the road with my husband and I got to experience that firsthand. It was a little shocking.
Yeah, a lot of preparation. You know, my partner used to say, "Why are you in there so long?" It's like, because I have to clean. I gotta wipe it down first. Yes. You know, it's like you're cleaning it up so that you can take the shower. And I just, you know, you don't want nothing to touch the floor. You don't want nothing to touch this. You don't want nothing to touch that. So it's very strategic. Let me say that.
Yeah. I understand.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So now we can shift into the health part of that. Like I was saying, that there are a lot of health challenges over the road. And I know that women face different challenges, health-related challenges from men. So I would really like to know the biggest challenge that you faced so far over the road related to health.
I would say that while I'm trying to be healthy, it can be a little unhealthy. And what I mean by that is pushing my water. One of my sisters, she's big on water. She's like, water, water, water. Drink. You got to get your water in. And she's right, because once you get that, it just does good things for your body, you know. Right. But the flip side to that is if you're driving for hours at a time, then your bladder becomes full, right. You know. So it's like, I'm trying to get all this water in, but I'm having to, you know, don't want to be bad on my bladder by holding it. So that is quite a challenge. And I would say that it can become a health challenge. So I did have to get creative, and I'm probably getting ready to give TMI, but you know, it's good to share notes. So I went to the camping section in Walmart, and they have a toilet seat that goes on a 10-gallon bucket? Like a paint bucket. And it's in the camping section. It's in the camping section. It's the big, big paint bucket. Okay. And it just snaps on. The toilet seat literally snaps on. Okay. I'm sorry. I had to make sure I didn't miss my turn. Okay. And so what I do is I line the bucket with a garbage bag, and then I put a puppy pad inside of that, And so when I am not near a rest stop or not near a truck stop and I have to go, I simply pull over to a safe location, put on my flashers, go. I have foam soap. I like foam soap better in the truck because it's just easier.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my water in here. So, I wash my hands real good. I tie up my bag and wait till I get somewhere where I can, dispose of it. So, but that is a challenge for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that actually, because I already know some of what the men do because my husband's a truck driver. I hear what they work out, but I was struggling to figure out how that could work for women. I mean, like I said, I did spend some time with him over the road, and I knew he was annoyed because every time I had to go, I was like, okay, find the spot. I got to go. When's the next exit? Like,
right.
He's like, we got places to be.
Yep. So that's what I do. And sometimes you're on a stretch where there is no exit, or if you're on one of those country roads,
mm-hmm.
there is nowhere, and you're on it for a good hour or so before you can stop. So I had to come up with something. And so that's what I came up with. And it works for me very well because it's sanitary. Like I said, the lid is very secure. So it works great.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. I know some women are probably going, I never thought about that one. You may be helping somebody out right now.
Yeah, but that's one of my health challenges. I did have to figure out my eating.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have to figure out, what I'm going to do for exercise. So those were two challenges that I'm working on. And I finally got my microwave working. So I like to do the veggies in the bag, the frozen veggies.
Yeah.
And, you do have to look at the sodium content on those. But that's what I do for veggies. I have a fridge, so I make salads. I'm a salad queen, so I can make a salad like out of anything. So, as long as I have my bed of lettuce, and then I use the packaged albacore tuna.
Mm-hmm.
I like albacore tuna, so I use that to put on top. And I boil eggs before I leave home. So I just get my little care package together. I like the nuts, the unsalted nuts. So I go to Sam's and I get things in bulk. So that way I'm not buying. I'm like a finance person as well. So I'm mindful of, my finances, and I just buy the unsalted nuts in bulk. I buy the Skinny Pop popcorn in bulk, the veggie straws, things like that. And cherry tomatoes, those are a good snack. I like cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I'm working on that challenge of the eating part. And Cheerios. So I try to do my breakfast with the Cheerios in the morning, and then my salads or my veggies, for my next meal.
You mentioned some really good tips there. So what do you do how do you get your exercise in?
Okay, so for exercise, I try to, when I'm at the shipper or the receiver, I try to get out. My go-tos are push-ups, since I now finally know how to do, not a girl push-up either, it's the regular push-up. I'm 50 years old, and I'm like, yes, I finally learned how to do a push-up. I'm strong enough to do it. So I do, push-ups are my go-to because it's easy. You don't need anything. You can just get down and put your gloves on and get down and do your push-ups while your truck's getting loaded. And in between my push-ups, I'll speed walk along my 53-foot dry van, So and then I'll jump rope as well. I do have I have 8-pound dumbbells in the truck. So I'll do squats, hold my dumbbells. I'll do squats. And then that's how I work out my arms too, is with the dumbbells. So I try to get on a regimen. Oh, and did I mention jump rope? I have a jump rope.
Yeah.
So I try to do that. So I just try to work it in when I'm at the shipper or the receiver. If I don't work it in and I get ready to shut it down for the night, I don't get out my truck. I secure my truck and I pick up my dumbbells and I try to do, my squats and my arm workouts with the dumbbells. So
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing that I learned is that I can, once my trailer's empty and I'm waiting on my next load, I can run in my trailer up and down, up and down. It's kind of boring, but you can still do it. You know, you can get your heart rate up real quick, and you can jump rope in there, and you can do your push-ups in there if you don't want to do them outside.
Oh, I never even thought about that.
Yep.
All right. I'm taking notes here like I'm going to be in my truck next week, and that's what I'm going to do. But I'm taking notes because this is really good stuff here. All right. So this has been such a fun conversation. I really appreciate you taking time. And I just have one more question for you.
Okay.
So for anyone listening who might be, maybe they're drivers right now, they're driving a truck already, maybe facing some of the similar challenges, or maybe they're thinking about driving or coming into the industry. Do you have any tips or a bit of advice you could share with anyone that might be listening and interested?
I would say for those that are on the fence and they're like, should I go? Shouldn't I go to become a driver? I would encourage you to do it. If this is something that you want to do, especially for the women, men too, but just don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. It is intimidating, but don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Try it, because you don't know unless you try, you know?
Yeah.
And once you get out here, you know, just soak in all you can. If somebody's trying to give you tips, listen, you know, because you can learn so much just by listening. And I love listening to the old timers. And they always encourage me, because parking is challenging when it's new to you, you know. And don't be worried about who's looking. Don't be worried about how much traffic you have backed up. You get out and you look as many times as you need to, so that you can safely, you know, park your equipment, so that you're not damaging your equipment or anybody else's equipment, so that you're not hurting anyone. You know what I mean? And just safety first, you know, safety first. I think that the topic of safety really needs to be like number one, because everybody has risk in what they do. Every job has a risk. When I was working in the school system, huge risk. I sat in the sacrificial seat in the school system, you know. But in this truck, this is some big, powerful equipment, and just be mindful, and lower your own stress level. You know, when people are out here driving erratic, don't react to it so that it raises your stress level. Right. You know what I mean? It comes with the territory. So, and just like at the shippers and receivers, when we're there for hours and hours, it's out of our control. We can inquire. We can say, hey, how much longer? But just manage your stress level. You know what I'm saying? What you're in control of, that's what you stay in control of. And so if you can lower your stress level by saying, you know what, I know this comes with the territory. There's nothing much I can do other than ask, and let it go. You know, I just think that if the more positive that we are, you know, the positive energy that we get off, we get it back. You know, I'll go to a lot of these shippers and receivers, and you can tell they're just disgruntled, you know. But I'm like, no, I'm not going to let them change my mood, you know, and I'm going to remain the friendly person that I am, who doesn't meet a stranger. And before I leave, I notice that they're smiling, or if they're not smiling, they've given me a little half a smile. You know what I mean? But they're no longer disgruntled like they were when I first encountered them. So just stay in control of your own stress level, and just recognize that you're in control of you. You're not in control of everybody else, just you.
That's excellent advice. I love that.
Yes, ma'am. And I thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity. And you're doing an awesome job by doing this, because people like me who are out on the road and like to be educated, you know, by other truckers, it's priceless. It's very priceless information. So I thank you so much for having the vision and then seeing it through.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate those comments, and warm words. They're well received, because sometimes it is, especially at the beginning, trying to get things up and running and get the momentum going. It is a little exhausting, but I'm driven by passion, because this is a vision that I have for a long time, and I know that it's really needed. And to hear your feedback like that does encourage me. So thank you for saying that.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, my goodness. It's been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate your time. Please share with your friends and let everyone know, if you know the drivers that would like to be on the podcast, let them know they can just go to our website and click on Be a Guest. And for all of your family and friends, make sure they listen to this. I think they'll get a kick out of hearing you talk about your journey and what you do.
Definitely. And I do have a couple of female truckers for you that I love to hear their story, and I am definitely going to direct them to your website so that they can get on and share their story as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for that. Thank you for listening to the Healthy Conversations in Trucking podcast. Learn more or be a guest on a future episode by visiting healthyconversationsinTrucking.com or simply HCITpodcast.com.